Before we start with the podcast, I want to remind you that I released my brand new course about tilt and how to get rid of it within just 3 days. If you suffer from tilt, I highly recommend you clicking the link down below in the description to learn more. And now, let's jump into the video. He tilted so hard in a session, he destroyed his phone, and he was continuing to tilt, and he had a MacBook. He punched through the screen.
Whatever you do in the mindset coaching and how much you're taking out of it, you can never really lose anything. You are always winning any big things, and you work that out with the coach. You know where it comes from, you know how to deal with your emotions better. This could be like really your breakthrough moment. Mindset is not only about tilt, it's also your professional approach as a poker player. You are under so much pressure, not only from your job itself, from the swings, the variance, the competitiveness, also outside from society.
Welcome back, Jan. Thank you for taking time for another episode. Today we talk about tilt and controlling emotions. If some people think that as a cash game player, you don't deal with any kinds of emotions because it's just cash game, right? Or, you don't have that kind of swings, right? Compared to MTTs.
Yeah. We have no variance at all. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
I can assure everyone who is watching that I know a lot of cash game players who deal with tilt and who struggles with variance. I think no matter which game you play, there is variance involved, obviously. And whenever variance is involved, you have people who deal with tilt. Would you agree with what I said?
Yeah, for sure. I would also add a little bit something to the everyone deals with variance. Also, I think it's very true that everyone, including myself, even with like almost a decade of experience, is still underestimating what variance actually able to do. And I still sometimes have months or stretches where I'm like, okay, is this real that this downswing is so long or that this goes like so crazy? But it can happen, right? So everyone is kind of guilty, including myself, still underestimating variance and what it can actually do, even though you're a player or have a good win rate.
You started as an MTT player, right? We had an episode before. If people don't know your story, they can watch the first episode. But you told me you started as an MTT player. And for you, what is the difference between an MTT player and a cash game player when it comes to variance and the swings? Or would you say it's very similar? What is your take on that?
The basics are obviously pretty similar, but MTT players have to be way more resilient to tilt or way more resilient to long losing stretches without questioning themselves and without like losing their confidence, right? Because they can go days and days and maybe months without hitting it big, right? Without always being break even, maybe even losing a lot of their sessions, but before the big bing comes and then the graph looks like this again and everyone applauds, right? And it's also fine that some players even say that they lose confidence even after 1 or 2 losing sessions, or they're at least questioning their game and if they have played well. This is super normal as a competitive player. But I think the big difference is that obviously MTT players are dealing with much more variance, but also the difference for me was, or why I switched, was also the level of competitiveness. So as an MTT player, when you're entering a $22 tournament on a Sunday, you're playing against, 10,000 people, right? Winning this tournament is great, obviously. I won the Sunday Storm once. It was way more players, so it was great. But also from a competitive point of view, I was like, yeah, but I mean, everyone could do that, right? Everyone could bink like a low stakes tournament, and that doesn't really mean you're a good player, right? And when I came to cash games, the level of competitiveness in the Zoom pools who are like small, maybe 100 players or something, is much higher because you play the same people every single day, the same regulars. You have to figure them out. You have to play good against them. It's an ongoing war, and then having success there was for me much more rewarding, I should say. When it comes to variance, I think in my early days as an MTT player, obviously I was really bad dealing with variance. And before that, I was way worse. At first, when I discovered poker, I tried to use it as a shortcut to make money without any effort, basically. So I built up bankroll. I was a little bit interested in strategies, and I was a competitive person, but I had no idea what I'm doing. I had no bankroll management at all. I just tried to make little amounts of money into big amounts in a short period of time, basically. And I busted, I don't know, an uncountable number of small bankrolls. I think I flipped them also up to good amounts and then losing them back. And I started tilting, started questioning myself, obviously, before I get a little bit more professional approach. But still in the tournament days, I remember the first years and experiencing lots of downswings when you go up in stakes. And also I moved up way too quickly in that. In hindsight, I can say that. Played way too high and way above my level, which increased variance. I might not even be plus EV in most of the very high stakes tournaments that I played. And that increased variance. That was sick. That was tough times. A lot of times I was really like, okay, this has been a month now. Maybe you sold some shares or got into your staking even, and then the makeup is big and all that stuff. That was really tough at sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
As a cash game player, I want to tell you a quick funny story that happened to me. And I would like to get your advice on this situation, right? What would you do? There's a group of 7 people, right? 7 friends who are all poker players. They travel to every live stop together. They basically just exchange hands. They support each other at their best. Okay. 5 out of those 7 are cash game players. 2 are tournament players. I worked with the 2 tournament players and they loved my coaching. They said to each one of the others, right? Because they also deal with tilt. They also deal with the emotional swings, right? The ups and downs. Listen, guys, this guy is amazing. I highly recommend you work with him. I worked with him. This is how he works. This is what we did. Work with him. And then the people who heard that said, yeah, but I'm a cash game player. I don't need mindset coaching. I'm a cash game player. Why should I need this? Mindset work is only for tournament players. That's what they said. And they basically, my 2 clients told me that. What would you say about this?
I think this is probably their number 1 biggest mindset leader. They think that way. That's obviously pretty big bullshit. Mindset is such a big part. If you ask Ben about it, like Ben CB, then he's a mindset warrior when it comes to that. He's doing so much and you can see how he does, right? He's putting up like 100K on a Sunday in tournaments and sometimes loses it all and be like on Monday, be like, yeah, lost yesterday. I will be stronger next week. And then he just goes. And I'm like, man, how can he do that? I would crying in my room for 2 weeks maybe if I lost 100K on a Sunday, right? So yeah, lots of work to do. And I think obviously mindset, it's such a big topic. Mindset is not only about tilt, it's also your professional approach as a poker player. You are under so much pressure, not only from your job itself, from the swings, the variance, the competitiveness, also outside from society. As you said yourself, when you talked to Ben first, you said you're a poker player. I never heard of that, right? Well, what is that? Is that a real job even? Like, are you crazy? Are you gambling for your living? Right? All these questions that are coming from people are also like evolving the pressure, like doing it way more than it was before. Also, my parents and also the society around me was also that way. So you have to fight through all of that. And mindset coaching and also improving your mindset can be so beneficial for your journey. I did that way too late too. MTT players also have maybe a little bit of a bigger ego sometimes because they're like trophy hunting and who's the best players, who are the top 5 MTT players and stuff like that. Cash game players are also competitive, but not the same way, if that makes sense. So if they go on like longer downswings and could do something for your mindset when it comes to ego and your own self-consciousness, that will be huge too, to like just like turn it down a little bit, be a little bit more humble, and you're not deserving anything. Even though you lost the last 6 Sundays, it doesn't mean you win the 7th, right? So there's the same chances every single Sunday. So all these things could be super beneficial for your journey. And I started also way too late doing that because I was like, yeah, I don't need that. I'm good enough. I can deal with this myself. What you learn is not only coming from poker, but also you can use it for life because you make educated decision. You're a risk-based person that tries to make the best decision possible, not only in poker, but also then in your life. And if you are a little bit detached to your emotional reactions to a poker outcome, you can also use that for life. If there's a big hit in your life, your social life, like everyone will experience that at some point, and you can deal just a little bit better with this than everyone else, then it will give you an edge about the competition when it comes to poker and also more life quality when it comes to real life.
Can I ask you a few provocative questions I have about tilt? Because tilt is always such a provocative and emotionally charged topic, I would say.
Yes.
First, let me start with a story and then I ask you this question. I think that is better. So I remember there was someone who filled out the application on my website because he wanted to work with me, right? I got in touch with him. We talked. We had a call like this. And I told him about how I work and stuff like that. And then he said, yeah, I have very big tilt issues, very, very, very big tilt issues. But I'm still not sure if I should do it. I'm still not sure. We talked and he said, yeah, I'm tilting for many, many years, but I have to think about it. Huh? Take your time. No pressure, right? No strings attached. Take your time. Think about it. All right. So a few days later, I text him, hey, did you think about it? He's like, yeah, I want to wait with it. 24 hours later, I wake up in the morning. I check my WhatsApp. He sent me 5 voice messages, nearly crying in the voice messages, saying, I was so stupid. I didn't start the coaching. He tilted so hard in a session. He destroyed his phone. He was throwing his phone against the wall and he was continuing to tilt and he punched. He had a MacBook, right? A new MacBook. He punched through the screen. And I can tell you, obviously, my coaching is cheaper than an iPhone plus a MacBook. Yeah? That would be the better solution. So he told me now he has to buy a new laptop and a phone and my coaching. The provocative question I want to ask you, because you said you started mindset coaching or working on your mindset a little bit too late. How much money do you think an average player, or maybe even you, loses because of tilt?
Whoa, that's depending on the stakes you play. But I think I lost a lot in that regard. I was not really the person that was like having these angry tilt issues. I was not punching anything or stuff like that. Like tilt is not only about losing or getting angry. It could also be something like winner's tilt, which I experienced a lot. So if I had a really good day when playing tournaments back in the day, I was maybe not playing for a week just to save that sweet spot of success and make it as long as an experience as possible and be like, yeah, I won. Like I'm in the green. I'm not going to play today, right? I was like laying my back on it, relaxing on the big win, trying to save it and not play again. So there's also forms of tilt that comes to that. So it's also a lot of the small things. I think big amounts could be used for mindset coaching. And not only that, I think mindset coaching, like if you have a good technical poker session on a topic, it can be super effective for that spot. For example, you talk about defending your big blind. If it's in tournaments or cash games, doesn't really matter. And you get really good again after that session. And you're like, oh man, this clicked so much for me. This is good. This will do a lot. But having a good mindset session where maybe you have that breakthrough moment to deal with your emotions or deal with the things that affects your game better, the return can be so much bigger. For example, if we talk about something like fear of failure or something, or any fears you have while playing, any big things, and you work that out with the coach, you know where it comes from, you know how to deal with your emotions better. This could be like really your breakthrough moment. And a technical poker session could also be great, but can never be like that breakthrough moment that you are now like the greatest player in the world in 2 or 3 weeks. But mindset can be like, there's so much to do. And it's such a big influence for you as a human and also as a poker player. Whatever you do in the mindset coaching and how much you're taking out of it, you can never really lose anything. You are always winning. If it's for your own life, if it's for your professional poker, if it's for your relationships or your sleeping pattern or your nutrition or whatever it comes to that, you will always take away like big things from it.
The reason why I ask you this is because what I do with my clients is, I don't know, maybe there's someone else who does this, but I think I'm the only person who gives a success guarantee to my clients. So what I do is I have a call with them and we talk about what issues they have. Let's stay with tilt. They say, hey, I'm tilting. I punched through my laptop. I threw my phone against the wall. We talk about some other topics. Sometimes they're not aware of the issue, right? So we always have a little bit of a buffer. But I say, for example, all right, to solve this, we need, example, 10 weeks to solve this. And I give you a guarantee that we will solve this in 10 weeks. And if we need longer, I will coach you for free until it's solved. That is my guarantee.
That's big. Right? That's big.
Yeah, that is huge, right? So all the pressure is on me, right? Just so I make sure that people know, and I believe in my qualities and my knowledge. So I know that I can help people within that period of time. And I only want to have successful clients too, right? What I do is I give them the success guarantee. And then of course, the question is always, let's say I'm charging that amount for those 10 weeks. Amount X. So if you lost, or you lose per week, you miss out on $500, $1,000 every single week because of tilt, it's a quite simple decision to go for the coaching, right? It's because this is how poker players think. That's what Ben always told me. Like he said, poker players think in return of investment. So you have to give them a good deal. So the question that I always ask myself before I offer someone to work with me is, how much return of investment does this person get out? And I literally tell that person that, right? So if I said, hey, you punched through the laptop and you destroyed the phone, right? That costs, I don't know, $3,000. My coaching costs that amount.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's plus EV to go for it. That's the way to think when you not just go for mindset coaching, but for any kind of coaching.
Yeah, you're investing in yourself, right? So how can that ever be minus EV? Like there's never like really the outcome that you spend like so much time working on yourself and you get absolutely nothing in return, right? So it will always do something for you.
Let me ask you another provocative question.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you remember the last time you tilted, and what did you do to control your emotions?
The last time I tilted, in terms of angry tilt, in terms of I was annoyed,
any kind of
tilt. Tilt or like the emotional thing is always there. It's every session, right? Every session, every play, there's pressure on you, the emotions dealing with it. What I learned was like to sit with my emotions, to allow them be there, but just to deal better with them and to see where they're coming from. I was playing a high stakes live session, I think 8 months ago or something, where stakes got really high. And I think at some point I got scared a little bit. The game was crazy good, obviously, but the stakes got really, really high. So I really was thinking at some point I was winning and I was thinking about, maybe I should quit. saved the day. Everything went fine. No reason to take the risk, but the game was crazy good and it would be crazy bad idea to quit. And I really had to force myself to sit there, play my best, not thinking about the money anymore, thinking about the EV of the game, and that I should stay. And I managed to stay for the whole night, basically. And we finished at, I don't know, 8 in the morning or something. It was a crazy long session. And because I just wanted to prevent myself from playing my absolute highest stakes, winning a little bit and ending the day losing. This was like a really a big fear I had at that point in time, remembering sitting at the table. So I had to like cut out the emotions by being rational, thinking and being like, okay, where's the fear coming from? So you're like, okay, it's fine that you sit there. It's fine that you are scared. It's fine because it's the highest stakes you ever played, but you should look at your EV and how much you can get out of this game. And this is a professional poker decision. And whatever happens, happens. If you have a bad result, you will deal fine with it after that, right? You're working so much on the mindset thing. Whatever happens in the result, you will deal fine with it. And thought process of whatever happens, I can cope with it. And whatever happens, I can deal with it in a good and professional way. And it will not like end my career or anything. Really calms me down and lets me sit there for another 8 hours and play this game. I think this was the last time where I was really deeply in touch with you have to do this now and really have to separate your emotions from the professional approach as a player.
So yeah, there was a form of anxiety tilt. That's how I call it, right?
Yeah. A lot. Yeah. And also fear of failure a little bit, so that you played your highest stakes and be like, yeah, I lost, I don't know, 3 or 4 buy-ins, which is huge in your highest game and takes like a lot of time to grind back. So all these kind of weird thoughts come into your head when you play like big pots and playing these games, right?
Did you have similar experiences when moving up online as well, or when you played big game online or something?
Me really wanting to play my best in these games was the bigger emotion that controlled everything, instead of like having the fear of losing, because I really made sure that I only play in games that I'm really like fine losing. But yeah, obviously you have that from time to time, playing higher stakes, or you're shot some buy-ins into a higher stakes game or something like that. You have that a little bit and on a smaller scale. But for the example, I wanted to really think about something that was a little bit bigger. You have a little bit of anxiety in every session. You have a little bit of emotions in every session. It's just a matter of how you deal with it and how you like also deal with that outside of the table. And this is where the mindset or the mindset coach can help you a ton to identify where is it even coming from and how can I deal with it better in a situation where I really need it. For example, when you play a high stakes game, you really have to find a strategy that makes you sit at the table and play the game.
One question that just popped up in my mind, which is also related to the topic we talked in the first podcast we had about you as a coach. So you told me you coach a lot of people. All of them, or I would say most of them, are cash game players.
Yes, all of them.
How many of them do you think have a tilt topic to work on?
Ooh, that's a good question. Lately, or the last half a year, I experienced that way more than before, I think, because I had these young students who were like pretty good in mindset, also pretty good technical, and they were very easy coachable and they had good results very, very quick. But there were also people coming to me in a very honest way and be like, yeah, I want to have coaching, but I also have these big mindset issues that coming with it. Can you help with that? And I'm always telling them that I'm not a professional mindset coach, but if I experience that myself, I can obviously give you my take on that or my strategies, how to deal with that better, and we can work with it together. Some issues are super big, and we took lots of time to work on these tilt issues. Someone has this aggression issue that he wants to outplay everyone, and then he played bad hands, trying to outplay and bluff people, and it always goes wrong, and it crushes his results. But also had something like professionals with financial pressure, right? Because bankroll got lower and stuff like that. So I had to deal with lots of mindset things and just be like, okay, I'm going to give you my best take and how I made it, and try to basically solve it to put as much rational decision making into that as possible, and trying to give strategies how you can leave emotions, not leave it out, but deal with it. They will never leave, right? They will always be there. But if we maybe learn and grow together to deal with these emotions, things will get better.
Okay, very interesting. I also have the same experience. I think tilt was always one of the biggest topics, and I think it has some waves. Sometimes it's a little bit under the radar because other topics are more important, but I think it's always top 3 topics in the poker world, I would say. Even today, I had someone reaching out to me telling me, hey, I play these kind of stakes. I have big tilt issues. Can you help? So I think it's a big topic. Last question before I let you go. How did you deal with tilt, or how did you learn to deal with tilt? And what is your number one approach of solving tilt in the session?
Wow, number one approach of solving tilt. If I had that, I would be a rich man, I think. I was always interested in human emotions and how to deal with it. And I'm also like the idea of reviewing myself and making sure that I make a good decision and that I do not tilt and stuff like that. But obviously, in the beginning, I was pretty bad at it, and not like controlling yourself was so easy, especially when you were a little bit young. But what helped a lot was looking up to other professionals that I worked with, how they dealt with it. And it basically was copying some strategies they did. And the more calm they were in situations, and the more I could see from them how they reacted to like insane big bad beats at final tables and stuff like that, and how they dealt with them, I learned a lot from them. And basically, I just tried to inhale everything I learned from them and implement it into my strategy, even though I was not 100% sure what I was doing. And later on, with that experience, I tried to do a little bit of myself. So when it comes to like hitting the gym, nutrition, sleep, and then discovering that everything affects your mindset outside of poker. So if you have bad sleep, you maybe have a bad session, you play lower quality poker. If you have bad nutrition or not hitting the gym regular, you have a bad day, or like this is where it comes from. I remember when I was with a friend in the gym and I was telling him that I was not working out for like a few weeks, and that I really felt bad because like poker was not going well and stuff like that. And that was the reason I was not going to the gym. And then he asked me, he was like, yeah, and maybe you not going to the gym is the reason you were doing bad at all. I was like, never thought about that, right? So everything kind of impacts that. And so I learned it step by step. Obviously, I read some books. I tried to get as much information on mindset and how to improve yourself as possible to be a more professional poker player. And also at mindset coaching with professionals, be like, okay, if sometimes it's enough that someone from outside the poker world is just looking at your life and how you approach things without any bias, and just tells you, okay, maybe you can improve here and there, or where's the anxiety coming from, or where's the fear of failure coming from, where's the tilt issues coming from, and stuff like that, and then improve that. But the number one thing is really accepting, and this goes not only for poker, this also was huge for my life, is allowing emotions to be there and not trying to put them away. Because if you put them away, they will come back. They will find a way back. And if they come back after months, after years, and you put them away, they will be like 100 times stronger, and they maybe cause things like burnout or whatever. And you can't allow that as a professional poker player. You just can't take that risk. So sitting with your emotions, allowing them to be there, but also dealing with them and trusting yourself, dealing with them the best way possible was maybe the biggest aha moment for me, that this really could work. I'm totally annoyed in a session like a few times when I lose big pots and stuff like that. I'm annoyed for like a few seconds, even a minute or something, sitting there. Oh man, that guy is so bad at poker. He's such a bad rag, and he gets laid like the set of a set situation or something like that. I'm allowing myself to be annoyed because I know after that we'll be fine again. I will play my A game again.
It's a good approach, but you have to be careful, because if some people hear this, they're like, okay, I'm allowed to punch the table. I'm allowed to punch
walls,
That's
right? Not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
No, I get the point. I just wanted to point out that it's a good approach for you, but for some people, there might be a different approach.
Obviously, yes. And with sitting the emotions, I just mean like sitting with the ones that, not riding the highs and lows as crazy, but to be a little bit annoyed and to be a little bit happy about winnings or loses during a session is like totally fine. Obviously, if it goes through the roof and I lose maybe, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 20 buy-ins a session sometimes, I'm quitting for the day. I'm fucking out of here. I'm hitting the gym, let some steam off, come back the next day stronger, right? Obviously, I do that too. I'm not sitting there like having big losing sessions, just forcing my way through because I sit with my emotions. I was just saying about like the small ones, right? So it's okay. It's fine. Like to lose a few stacks here, lose a few stacks there, sitting there and try to deal with it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I like what you said. So I call this controlling your emotions throughout the session. The little up and downs are totally fine. I think everyone has that, but it should be in a like controlled manner, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So as long as they're in control, that is fine. They have a little bit of anger, a little bit of annoyance, a little bit of happiness. That is fine. Sure. But it should not influence your decisions on the table.
And when it does, it's also fine. Then you just quit for the day or take like half the day off and come back in the evening after you had a good dinner or spend some time with friends and family, hit the gym.
All that. As a cash game player, it's easy, right?
It's super easy.
I know also MTT player are watching. So everyone has to have different strategies for sure. As a cash game player, yes, 100% agree what you said. As a tournament player, things might be a little bit different, but that's exactly why I created my course about tilt. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for the time. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for answering all my provocative and interesting questions. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will link all your links as always down below. Yeah, I'm sure people will reach out to you.
Yeah, it was super interesting. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you for watching the podcast. If you liked the video and you want to get rid of tilt yourself, I highly recommend you clicking the link down below in the description to get access to my brand new Tilt Buster course, in which I explain how to get rid of tilt within just 3 days. See you there.